introduction. Who are you? What's your background? And what is Modern C10?
Okay, I'm Mickey Tessneer. I'm a race car builder. I started Mickey's Chassis Works when I was 24 years old. Started out racing with my dad as a kid, working on his cars. He used to take me and my brother out street racing. We kind of got hooked on it, and it turned into our Friday night normal, And so after I graduated high school, I got into fabrication and machining, and I really liked building shit. So I just kind of maneuvered on to building race cars, working on race cars. And within a few years, I was doing a lot of side work, and that turned into full-time work. And at age 24, I started Mickey's Chassis Works. Started out primarily just working on street race cars. I just had a passion for trying to figure out suspension, geometry, making cars work with minimum amount of traction, to basically create the fastest street cars anybody's ever seen. I kind of followed that scene for a long time, built a lot of those cars, and somewhere into my late 20s, I got interested in the drag radial stuff. Kind of transitioned from building these street race cars and no prep cars into building drag radial cars. After 10 years of doing drag radial stuff, I just kind of found myself getting back to the street car stuff. I really liked seeing the older cars with all the modern technology, and I started dreaming up some of my high school cars. I drove a 67 Camaro in high school. I had a 87 C10 in high school, and I started thinking how badass would it be to have those same cars but modernized, like a newer vehicle. So I kind of got into this little niche of, man, let's see if we can modernize this car and this car and this car, and turn into kind of like a retro mod style street car. And I don't know, business just started kind of shifting that direction. I feel like a lot of people are wanting to get back to their roots and go back to the cars that they enjoyed in high school, and they want to be able to drive them. I did a lot of drag radial racing myself, and driving all across the country and spending thousands of dollars. And, it just got to a point that if you want to be competitive, you got to be a millionaire, and it's got to be a full-time job. So after being that guy for a while, I just found myself back in the street scene and just like doing daily driver type stuff and doing modern retro mod type vehicles. And that's what kind of led us into Modern C10. After taking a few years off from drag racing, I built a new shop and was trying to expand my business, and just started getting bored, after not racing for a few years. Got bored and decided I wanted to build something me and my kids can enjoy. I got two boys, and I wanted something we can enjoy. My first thought really was building a Cadillac XLR. I wanted to build one of those and just slam it on the ground, put an LT4 in it, and just have a badass street car. But they're two-seaters, can't really take my kids with me. So the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I gotta have the old piece of shit square body that I had in high school. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna put a badass engine in it. And my boys are gonna cruise that and just enjoy it, And so as I acquired the truck, I started noticing parts were hard to come by. It seems like for the OBS trucks and 89, 90 model and up, they make everything under the sun for. But when you get back into the old square body stuff, it's like there was a generation of trucks that were missed, as far as parts and stuff go. And then on top of that, with the way the world is right now, the economy is, there's not a lot of companies just manufacturing parts for those trucks. So a lot of the things that we did while building my truck was we had to build ourselves, which is fine. I have a complete fabrication shop, but whenever I started out building it, it was because I thought this will be an easy deal. I can build it fast. I can buy a lot of the parts and just put this truck together. Of course, it didn't work out that way. I ended up having to make all kinds of things. It was constant custom fabrication on everything. And so that kind of led me into this idea of Modern C10. I'm like, man, what if we just had a company that wasn't too big for their britches? I mean, we can build chassis for C10s, Impalas, Camaros, Chevelles. We can build chassis for anything. We're a custom fab shop. But once you grow so big as a company, you can't get anything out the door. And that's what it seems like is going on right now. With a lot of these companies, they're getting too big and they're offering so much that they can't finish anything. So Modern C10, kind of nice pivot from Mickey's Chassis Works. We already have all the equipment. We already have the building. We have the experience and the knowledge to build anything. So I seen a business opportunity to start building parts for C10 trucks and just specialize in C10. So if we're only specializing in one vehicle, and our production and inventory should work out great. You know, we're only trying to get one thing out the door. And so that's kind of how the Modern C10 deal came about. But then as I started watching the market, I start seeing these C10s are growing and growing and growing. It's like everybody had the same idea I had at the same time. You know, these trucks are growing in value. They're getting expensive. Just the whole market for square body C10s has just exploded. So, and it's all happened in the last few years. So I can only imagine everybody had the same idea I had. You know, they got to an age that they wanted to go build a hot rod with their kids in a garage, and they said, well, this is what I drove in high school. This is what I want to build. So anyways, with that being said, that's how we got to Modern C10. And our goal is to basically build as many parts as we can in-house. And we are also selling parts. Some of the things that are not practical for us to build, we will just sell, but we're going to try to keep high inventory on all that stuff so that the wait time for the customer is very minimal. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And you know, this is our first video. I hope you guys subscribe to our video, and maybe we'll do a lot of tech videos and how-tos and stuff like that. Just information that I've gathered over the last 20 years of building cars, you know.
All right, well, speaking about information, can you tell us a little bit more about Bougie?
Okay, so Bougie is my square body. That's my C10. Bougie, like I said, I got bored. I wanted to build a truck for me and my kids. So I bought this old piece of shit square body, and it was actually a good builder. I bought it from a gentleman that his mom bought it brand new. She drove it right off the showroom floor in '85. And she's the only one that's ever had the truck. And she had a camper on it, and it was just like typical old man truck, but it was an older woman. And she passed away, and the guy just needed to sell the truck. So I'm the second owner of the truck, and it was really a good builder. Even though it was like 100% stock and original, those trucks were just junk from the factory. So so when I call it a piece of shit, it's because they were that way brand new, you know. But anyways, we took my, you know, the ideas I had of modernizing the truck, and we built it. It took about 2 years, just doing it nights and weekends and stuff like that.
Why'd you name your truck Bougie, and what does that mean?
Okay, so what Bougie means is aspiring to be higher class than what you really are. To me, the square body C10, they were produced for like 14 years. None of them were nice. They were all just piece of shit, cheap ass trucks for the working man to go and, you know, drive to work or whatever. But when I started building this truck, it's like I was aspiring to be high class. You know, we used a lot of performance parts that you would see in a supercar or a really expensive Camaro or Corvette. So it just kind of seemed like it fit. You know, we took a truck that was really ugly, junky truck, and we put lipstick on it, and made it all fancy. So to me, the name Bougie just fit the truck just right. So that's why we named it Bougie.
All right, well, I think it's a good time to go meet Bougie.
So check it out. It's Bougie in all her glory.
What color is this?
Okay, that's probably the number one question I get asked. It's simple. This is a 2016 Jeep Wrangler Blue. We didn't do anything custom really. It's just a factory color. The paint code calls for black sealer. We did some test panels, and I like the way the metallics kind of reflected back off of the silver sealer, so we ended up using the silver sealer. But that's the only difference in this. It's just the paint code off of 2016 Jeep Wrangler.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about these wheels?
Okay, those are Forge Line billet wheels. Can't remember what model number they are, but I bought these from St. Paul's Speed, and he's a Forge Line dealer, and he's got good customer service. And if you're needing to order a custom wheel like this, where you're gonna have to do dimensions and finishes, etc., he's definitely a good guy to talk to. And so we got the Forge Lines from St. Paul's Speed.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the suspension?
Yeah, suspension. So we kept the factory frame. We went through and boxed it in and strengthened it up, welded up all the seams. These frames are riveted from the factory, so they work loose. So we welded up all the cross members, filled in all the holes, boxed in the frame. And then we went with a Western chassis control arm assembly for the front. And we got the drop spindles, strange shocks all the way around it. Back, we kept the leaf spring suspension, and we went with the Smith Racecraft Assassin bars for traction. It's got the double adjustable stranges on the back. We custom built a Ford 9-inch in it. It runs a 3.0 gear and Detroit locker.
Cool. Can we check out the interior?
Interior. Okay, so just in my opinion, square body's got to have the factory interior. Like it's really hard to get custom interior in a square body to look right. So we went with all LMC factory interior, with the exception of the seat. We used Snowden seats out of Texas. It's Chris Snowden, and he's got fair price, and the product is really good. It's really comfortable. But yeah, so pretty much LMC on the interior and Snowden seats.
Can we check under the hood?
Yep. The power plant, we used a LT4. This would come factory in a ZL1 Camaro or a Corvette. This is the wet sump version, so that would be like a Camaro engine. We did buy it brand new from GM. It's not a pull out. And then as soon as we got it, we had some buddies of mine over at Mickey Auto. They changed the camshaft out. We ported and polished the heads. We ported the blower, put a party pulley on it. Here at my shop, we did all the headers and exhaust on it. It's 2-inch primary stainless headers with 3.5-inch exhaust into a Borla muffler. We got all of our Modern C10 radiator cooling stuff. This is just a custom built box for our ice tank. We basically put ice water in here and run it through the intercooler and through the blower to cool it down. This is a meth injection tank over here, and we got our lines over here. We spray the meth in there. It's got the 8-speed automatic. We run the paddle shift. It's a freaking blast. And the engine and everything was tuned by Sam at Advanced Modern Performance. He's down in Grand Prairie, Texas, and he did a killer job on it. She makes a lot of power. They dynoed at the tires just over 800 horsepower. And let me tell you, that's a lot on the street. So it's a lot to play with.
You think we could hear you fire it up?
Yep. Racing's a lot of work. when your hobby's also racing, it's a lot of work. You really want to just be able to enjoy it, and that's what I like about this truck. So with the LT4, you know, we got plenty of horsepower. We got the 8-speed automatic. I roll this paddle shift right here from PCS. I would have never thought paddle shifting was so much fun, but it's kind of like an old man stick shift. You can bang the gears if you want, but you still hold on to your drink and not have to clutch it at the same time, you know. When we built the truck, we did put the flex fuel setup on it, so we can run the E85. With the gas prices the way they are, honestly, that's the best thing we ever did when we built this thing. But it runs a lot better and a lot smoother on the E85. Here, I'll show you guys something cool about this paddle shift that I didn't even realize when I first got it, but now that I have it, I love it. So this paddle shift, when you're in automatic mode, like right now, we just got the truck in drive, this thing will just shift out just like your normal car, do its thing just like it's programmed to do. And if you go down one more notch, you can put it in manual mode and just manually shift it, okay, which I'll do that in a minute. But what I think is cool is you can be rolling in just in auto mode and then downshift it, and it'll hold it there in manual mode until it times out, and then GM will just take back over. Okay, so like if you're getting on the highway or whatever, and you want to drop it down a gear just to get on the on-ramp, once you're rolling on the highway, you don't have to go back to upshifting. GM just takes back over and it continues to shift on its own. Now once you're in manual mode, you go down one more notch, it's only manual. You have to paddle shift it, it will not shift down. So it's kind of a cool feature that I like. Just cruising this truck around, sometimes it's not in the gear you want it to be in, you know, so you can just drop it down in a manual mode and roll it in whatever gear you want, or you can just, you know, cruise it in auto and just, you know, just chill. So another cool thing about what I like about this truck is the cooling aspect. So these engines really run good, they make a lot of power and they run cool. So this thing rarely hits 180. I mean, right now I think it's close to 95 degrees outside, and these things just cool really well. Back whenever I used to drive my old square body in high school and my old Camaro, I had a 67 Camaro, like that was the thing, you couldn't go nowhere, the damn thing ran so hot, you know. But we got these new radiators with big fans on them. We run a big 16-inch dual fan setup, and it keeps these things cool. I've had this truck in parades, I've had it, you know, out racing all night. Doesn't matter what you do, this thing runs cool. You don't ever got to worry about it overheating. So another commodity that we have is the vintage air. I've never had a hot rod myself with air conditioning in it. I've built some street rods and stuff and put the vintage air in, but I've personally never had air conditioning in a hot rod. So that is a must. My dad used to tell me all the time, man, we got to put an air conditioner in my race car, man. It's too hot in there. I want air conditioner in there, and I'd make fun of him about it. You know, of course, I was young and dumb, and now that I'm getting a little older and I just want to enjoy driving it, it's like, man, it'd be so miserable in here right now. You know, if we didn't have the air conditioning, it'd be so hot and just, you wouldn't want to drive it, you know. So we put the vintage air in here, and damn, it works good. I mean, these square bodies, they got an extra vent over here by your knee, and sometimes it'll just freeze your kneecap off, and I got to turn this thing down a little bit. Like, I barely have it on right now. I'm like not even a quarter of the way up on the fan speed, and it's chilly in here. And like I said, it's like about 95 degrees outside right now. So that's definitely a modern commodity that I'll never look back on. It's one of the best things I ever did in this truck. Lets you really appreciate your hot rod and go out and enjoy it, you know. So other than that, the truck rides pretty good, considering that, you know, it's a hot rod, considering that most of the suspension is set up for street racing. It actually rides pretty decent. It rides better than my Duramax, that's for sure.
What kind of times have you ran in this thing?
So me running this truck at the racetrack, the fastest I've been thus far has been a 1020. I don't remember the mile per hour. I think it was like 136 or somewhere in there. That's running quarter mile. did well. We went on a 300-mile cruise. We come back. We had some bad fuel in it that we picked up at a gas station. We got that ironed out and went from 13th qualifier to in the top 3 before we had the transmission mistake. It didn't break nothing in transmission, nothing got hurt. It just put it in limp mode. I rolled into the burnout too hard and I shifted too fast, and I think it just confused the computer. But we went at 1020 that day. I think really if I get Sam involved helping me with the tune and stuff, and I can work on the suspension, I think that the truck will definitely get into the 9s. Really my goal is like 9 anything and I'd be happy with it. And it's obtainable. I mean, it's got plenty of power left and it'll do it. We just need a little time to work on it.
So what made you choose an LT over an LS?
The LT. So the LS is a good engine. It's more common to do an LS swap, and they're good engines and parts are available. I don't have nothing bad to say about the LS engine. Just what it is I like to be 2 or 3 years ahead of the curve whenever I build a car. So the LS thing, that was the thing to do. You know, you got to think, I built this truck. I started building it 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, I thought, okay, what's going to be cool when I actually get this truck done? And to me, it was the LT engine, you know. And then I thought, well, what'd be cooler than an LT engine? LT4. That'd be the way to go, right? So, you know, 3 years ago, I thought, well, LT4 would be the coolest thing you could do. And so that's why we went the LT4 route over the LS engine, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm 100% happy with it. The drivability of an LT engine is phenomenal. I mean, they're so smooth and easy, and just they run so good. And we beat the hell out of this thing, and you can't hardly hurt them, you know. Then they just make so much power too. It's just so easy to make so much power. I've also been asked, why did you go the supercharged deal, not doing like a turbocharger? Turbos absolutely make the most amount of horsepower. They're badass. But it's just something about the sound of a blower and just the instant torque the blower makes. I don't know, I love it, man. The blower, the LT4 setup, that's just the way to go in my opinion. LS engines are badass, but this is where it's at for me. Our video. Be sure to subscribe to see more videos on tech tips, installs, and even our custom builds.